Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Buds and Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Riley McConnell. Riley, how you doing?
Good, Jesse. Got a lot of good news today. I know we're both pretty optimistic. I know you're going to be ready to announce this to our viewers if they didn't already know. Just a little more psych than last week and the week before.
Yeah, before we get into that, I just want to say over the last few episodes here, we've been talking about the team, the players and whatnot, the broadcasters and all that stuff. But today we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to open up our imaginations and talk about what's next for the Toronto Blue Jays. Who are the free agents we could add? Who are the trade targets we can go for? You know, this is the stuff that us Blue Jays sickos, this is the stuff we want, right? Because we can let our imagination fly and see who's going to be on this team, who's going to be in Blue Jay Blue in 2022.
For all those other GMs playing MLB out there, when you want to go sign a guy that you really like, this is the episode for you. I'm one of those guys, a big time MLB franchise player. I love it. This is this kind of stuff I like to get into, we got a vacancy in this spot, boys. Who are we going to pull up? Or, this pitcher looks good. Maybe we could get him for less, things like that.
Right. We talked about dreaming on prospects in our episode last week. Today, we can dream about the Major League roster. And plus, we're going to have trivia, a whole bunch of other fun stuff along the way. So make sure you like and subscribe and follow along with us as we follow the Blue Jays this year. Before we get started, though, we did have a big press conference today from Rob Manfred. He took to the media and there were a few major takeaways to take away from this press conference. As you know, the owners and the players are going through a labor agreement, and we're trying to figure out how things are going to look for the 2022 season. And Rob Manfred basically admitted today that him and the players' unions have agreed on two things. One, the universal DH is here. There's no more just strictly the DH in the American League, and pitchers are going to bat in the National League. It's going to be all DH all the time. Got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course I do, man. That's how the National League has been forever.
Right.
It opens up 15 new lineup spots is what it does. It's going to be, I don't know how I feel about it right now. I'm excited to get guys to the lineup instead of having the pitcher, take 3 pitches and walk back to the dugout, or, the sacrifice bunt could be taken away a little bit. The NL is a big strategic, chess game as far as baseball goes. AL is more, swing and hit the ball hard. When you have that pitcher in your lineup, is it a guaranteed out all the time? No, you can work different stuff with it. Pinch hitters, if the average, AL starter goes 6 1/3, the NL starter's going, I would say, 2 or 3 outs less than that, because they're so often pinch hit for because of critical game situations. So it opens up a new job spot for someone with a big bat. It's gonna be awesome to see some NL teams do that with their lineups.
That's the big reason I think the Players Association really wanted the DH, because that's just another player on a Major League roster making more money, taking stuff up. Now, the big knock against the DH has always been that strategy thing, like, a manager's got to do a double switch, or do you really want to pull your pitcher? He's throwing a gem, but you really need this offense in this clutch spot. But to me, I think baseball is more fun when you have all guys throughout the lineup who can hit, right? Even your bad DH is still way better than any pitcher hitting ever, unless you're Shohei Ohtani, of course. But that's a whole different animal, So I'm very excited to see that the DH is going to be here. I think it's just going to make more fun across all modes of baseball. And it's a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of gonna renege on what I said last, I think a couple episodes ago, about that inflated AL ERA to the NL facing the pitcher, because I was right at the time to say that. But now this now coming about, it's going to change everything. Level playing fields for all statistics for all pitchers. Now you got to face the big boy in the lineup. Now you're not facing Max Scherzer or someone who hits below 100. You're facing a guy who could knock the ball out of the park 30 times in 150 games.
It just makes that battle between the pitcher and the batter even better. And that's what we like about baseball, right? It's pretty good. Another takeaway from the press conference today is that Rob Manfred said there's going to be now no more draft pick compensation / qualifying offer program. So how that worked in the past is if a player becomes a free agent, the team that he's leaving offers him a qualifying offer, which is usually a 1-year deal. This year was around $18 million. It's fluctuated throughout the years. And if that player declines that contract and then signs with another team, the team that lost that player is entitled to a draft pick, which is usually just after the first round, but before the second round. The Jays just did this last year with both Marcus Semien and Robbie Ray. He signed them both to that qualifying offer. Both of them turned it down. They both signed elsewhere. So the Jays are going to get 2 draft picks out of that this year. But this is the last year that seems to be happening, which I think is something the players wanted, because I feel like it's going to help players re-sign with their team a lot more likely. A lot of teams were just incentivized to be like, yeah, we'll offer you the qualifying offer. You're going to leave as a free agent. We don't really have the business to re-sign you. We don't think we want to do that. And now I think it might push it in the favor of maybe teams look at these free agents, pending free agents, go, maybe we do want to re-sign them for another year or two. So I don't know. I'm still pretty new on the thoughts of this. It could go lots of different ways, but that's kind of my first thoughts about this.
I like it too, actually. Because I like homers. I like guys that stick to their clubs. You can think of, legendary teams. When you think of Cincinnati, Joe Morgan, Johnny Bench, just were their guys, it's, the Jays, our guy was Halliday for the longest time. And then, if this rule was implemented, would he have gone to Philadelphia? We don't know.
Still think he might have, but that's just because the Jays were in a whole different situation then. But
yeah, championships implications there.
Right.
Who doesn't want to win a ring?
Absolutely right. And Halliday deserved one. So as we know,
yeah.
One more takeaway there. It does seem like extended playoffs are going to be likely now. Whether that's 14 teams, whether that's 12 teams, whether the new playoff format, how it changes, that's all up for debate. They're still talking about that in the labor talks there, but it seems likely, though, that the playoff field is going to be extended from 10 to either 12 to 14 to 16 teams. So I guess we just sit and wait and see. My theory on this is, where was this when the Blue Jays were like a very mediocre team for years and years and years and years and never got a sniff of the playoffs? But I don't really have a major takeaway on this yet either. I think I'd like to see how the new playoff system is reformed, and we'll talk about it when it is, before I really make an opinion on expanded playoffs.
Well, I mean, it's good for the Blue Jays, right? We both know this. If you were to add the next team with the best record in last year's playoffs, it's us.
Yep. Yeah.
Like through the whole, I would say the last 3 years, like we could have possibly had the edge in the playoffs, or not, maybe not an edge, but we, going into the playoffs, we could have, anything can happen in the playoffs. That's why it's the playoffs. You have in hockey or whatever seeds, 1 seeds beating 8 seeds, things like that. Baseball, you never know. You get your bats hot and you get a good couple outings from pitchers and away you go.
Yeah, baseball is very different too than other sports. I think I read an article somewhere, maybe on Baseball Prospectus, that it said in order for 2 playoff teams to meet in baseball, you have to place a 75-game series in order for the team that's better than you to win that series 80% of the time or more. So there's no way we're doing 75-game series here. And so that means just the playoffs, it's a crapshoot. It's all random, right? You get in there, you get hot, you're laughing. It's, not really a great system to decide who the best team in baseball was, but we've all decided as like a community, be like, no, this is fun. We like these playoff series. Like, let's go with it, right? That way, because anyone can win. Like Atlanta last year, no way going into the playoffs do we think Atlanta was the best team, but they got hot at the right time and they're World Series champions because of it.
That's what it takes to be a champion. You get on, like I said, you get the hottest team usually wins. You don't win the championship by having, half your lineup being cold.
So great points there. I'm excited to see what the future holds for those. I do want to give you some quotes that Rob Manfred said during his press conference today. So the first things first, what we thought when he was planning a meeting is that he was going to announce that spring training was going to be canceled, seeing how pitchers and catchers are supposed to report, I think in like 9 or 10 days, like very soon. He said, quote, "The status of spring training is no change right now." So unless they get a deal done between now and then, which I'd be very surprised if a deal is struck in the next 9 days. It seems like spring training is going to happen, but it's going to happen with players who are not currently on the 40-man roster. So a lot of the minor league guys, the guys who got spring training invites, those are going to be the guys that are in camp at the moment and not the guys on the 40-man roster, which is something.
Yeah, give another guys a hand in that and, see how they do. If it doesn't work out like that, still, we're trying to be optimistic here, but 8 or 9 days for, kind of, I would say the lack of progress that has really actually happened. You know, as long as we get something through before opening day, I don't think a whole lot changes. Yes, pitchers are going to lose innings. You know, we're going to lose some reps in the batting cages, but all in all, 162 games is what needs to happen.
Yeah, and in terms of the regular season start, Rob Manfred said this, and I quote, "I'm an optimist, and I believe we'll have an agreement in time to play our regular schedule. I see missing games as a disastrous outcome for this industry, and I am committed to reaching an agreement." So first of all, do you think he's bullshitting or what?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like it's a political approach. Of course, he's to, you know, he's walking on eggshells, you know, eggshells that he kind of broke the eggs of. But he's got to say something like that, right? He can't just flat out say, you know, I'm disgusted with what the players union is asking about. You know, this is a league where, you know, I'm in charge, I'm the sheriff, and what I say goes, which I'm sure he goes to bed at night thinking about, you know, more often than not. It's not like he's really, you know, I don't know. I got a lot to say about, you know, hierarchies and the wealth and statuses of some individuals. But for this case, just being MLB baseball, you know, the players are losing out. The fans are losing out. And I think those are the two most important things when it comes to the sport.
Right. If you take Rob Manfred for his word there, that actually gave me a little bit of hope. If he truly is committed to getting on the field for opening day, we already know the players are truly committed to getting on the field for opening day. If that is something they can agree on, and it's not just a negotiation tactic or something, you know, to make the players look bad when a deal isn't done by opening day, I think that's optimism. I think we're well on the track here. I'm just going to give you one more quote here. He says, "It is my responsibility to do everything I can to make an agreement and to keep the game on the field." So that kind of goes back to what we just said there before. You know, nothing too crazy. So on Saturday, he is making a good faith positive proposal in an effort to move the process forward. And then he pauses for a second and says, "It's a good proposal." So they're going to meet again on Saturday. They're going to be discussions. I think we should wait and see to what those details entail. I get kind of turned off by how he says it's a good faith proposal because, well, you know, that could be iffy, but they're meeting. It seems like things are happening and we're well on our way here.
We're not taking steps back as of right now, which, knock on wood, we continue to walk in the direction of which is gonna lead us to this lockout ending. And I'm not gonna say, you know, there's obviously going to be a clear loser and winner by the end of this. But all in all, everyone's losing out right now. So,
yeah,
you know, someone's got to suck it up, and I hope it's not the players.
I'm with you there. And when a deal does get struck, it's going to be a busy time for us because Rob Manfred did say it's only going to take him about a week from the time a deal is struck to get to report in spring training. And in that week, all these free agents need to be signed. All these trades are going to be made. So it's going to be a busy as hell week, which means it's probably going to be busy for us too. And we'll have lots to talk about.
Yeah. Watch the league just get turned right side up, upside down. It will be a busy week when that happens.
Looking forward to it. So
me too.
That's kind of the negotiation of where the players and the labor talks have kind of been going. We'll touch on them more as news breaks out. And of course, follow our Twitter account. We'll be tweeting up a storm about it, I'm sure. Let's get on to the fun part, though, and talking about this team, the Toronto Blue Jays. Once that labor agreement is made, this team's still got more work to do. I'd be very surprised if the team they currently have is the team that's fielded out there on opening day. So let's talk a little bit about it. Before we get going, we got to talk about what this team needs. And Riley, I've come up with a few little things here. Tell me what your thoughts on there. As we've mentioned in previous episodes before, this team really does need a third baseman, right? Like you said, as of now, Santiago Espinal's the starting guy. I think we're on the same page saying that he's not the guy you want starting opening day. Going on as well, I think we could use a second baseman, as well as we always need pitching depth and maybe another bench bat. Anything to add on that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. For me, the two primaries would be pitching is probably the most important thing in baseball. You can't win games if your pitching is subpar, or you can't even win in the long run if it's even average. So adding depth there would be great. And of course, one of the more predominant positions in today's game, good teams have good third basemen. It's just you look around the league, third base might be one of the most stacked positions out there. And there's a plethora of good guys that the Jays could possibly acquire. And really, not turn that team upside down or turn it around, but contribute and add to what is already a great lineup.
Third base has kind of fallen off the way a little bit. Like, you're not seeing the super top tier talent at the position anymore, but there's still lots of good guys out there. The Jays, I think, might be the weakest in the majors at third base right now, or if not, they're at least in the bottom 5. So definitely a place we need to improve. And I'm sure we're going to talk about some players that could fill that hole here. So I think you and I have both come up with 3 players that we really think the Jays should go out and acquire before the season starts. Would you like to go first, or should I go first with my guy?
You can go first. I got to build up wind for my first guy, and I'm going to kind of bounce off what you have to say. I know you have one of your more, we'll say, not favorite non-Jays, but someone that you've really looked at closely and think will make a great impact on the club.
Oh, man, what a tease. All right, without further ado, this is the player the Blue Jays should be acquiring, and it is Cattell Marte. Now, let's get into him a little bit. He's a switch hitter. He plays second base, which fills a need. He can play a little bit of shortstop, and he can play a little bit of center field, which, perfect, right? We saw George Springer get hurt a lot last year. Do we really want to send out Randall Grichuk in center field? I don't know if we do. Putting Cattell Marte there would cover that. If there's ever an injury to Bo Bichette or something else, Cattell Marte could cover over to short and we get someone else to play. So first of all, right there, that's a positional alignment. Love that. He's only 28 years old too, so he's still in his prime. He's still going to be very good. He's under contract for $8.4 million this year, for club options for next year and the year after that. So he's not a free agent until 2025. So if we do make the trade for Cattell Marte, we get him for 3 years. Perfect. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are about this guy or your general opinion, right? But I'm going to tell you his stats over the last 3 years. Right?
Well, give me 1 second. You ask what I do know about him.
Yeah, do that.
I know he burns rubber on the base paths. Led the American League in steals last year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, not last year. I don't have his stolen bases numbers here, but it's been a while since he's really been elite runner.
That's Starling Marte.
Yeah, I'm talking Cattell Marte.
Yeah, I gotcha. I was thinking of leaderboards in my head, and all I saw was Marte. Okay, nope.
Yeah. Starling Marte just signed to play center field for the Mets, which, the Mets really wanted George Springer last year. Jay stole him from him, so now this is their replacement. But anyways, that's beside the point. In 2019, this is what Cattell Marte hit. He had a .329 batting average, .389 on base percentage, slugged .592, hit 32 home runs, and had a .149 OPS plus. Now, OPS plus 100 is league average, so Cattell Marte was .149. That means he was 49% better than league average. So amazing. He was an all-star. He finished 4th in MVP voting. A true breakout season for Cattell Marte. So flash forward to 2020. You get the COVID shortened season. He still hit 287. He went .323 on base, .409 slugging. Not that great. Only hit 2 home runs, but he only played 45 games. He was hurt a lot last year, and some of the expected stats still really like Cattell Marte. Flash forward to last year. He bounced back in a huge way. 318, 377, 532, 14 home runs, and 143 OPS plus, which 43% better than league average. You take that every time. And now to put his 143 OPS plus into perspective for Jays fans, which we might know, George Springer last year, and we saw how hot George Springer got. He also had a 143 OPS plus. That OPS plus was better than Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, and Teoscar Hernandez. So this is the type of hitter that the Blue Jays would be adding into their lineup. Not only that, he can run. He plays these elite defensive positions. I am in on Cattell Marte, and I really want the Jays to sign this or to make a trade for this guy.
And one more thing to add too, you mentioned the switch hitter thing.
I know you love the switch hitter.
I do, and I love it now that when a righty's on the hill, there's another lefty bat in the lineup. You look at all the great hitters we talk about on this Jays team, and they're predominantly right-handers. So put a little more, and it puts a little more strategy involved how you pitch to guys. If you're a right-handed hard thrower with a great slider, like maybe that's going to kryptonite a lot of our Jays hitters trying to hit that low and away sinker. You throw in a good lefty batter there, and I should say great lefty batter with those numbers. I don't actually know what his lefty righty splits are, but you're going to have with a 143 OPS plus. I can't do the math right in my head, but you're going to have good numbers on both sides of the plate, especially when more of your ABs will be left-handed.
Almost definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are insane numbers for someone who is going to cost, I think, less than, perhaps some of the other names that I'll be throwing out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a price to pay for him, but those are some performance numbers, and fourth in MVP voting too.
In 2019. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's, that's a quality player. That's what you call, well, you've already mentioned he was an all-star, but that's what an all-star player is.
Yeah. I think he's going to cost less too than a Jose Ramirez would cost, because Cattell Marte, yeah, he's still fairly young, but I really do not think he's going to be part of the next good Arizona Diamondbacks team. So he could be had. And I think also,
when is that?
Yeah, right. It's been a while. He's a great Marcus Semien replacement. I think he's better than Marcus Semien, and we saw how good Marcus Semien was last year.
Hot take.
Yeah, well, Marcus Semien got a little lucky. I was digging into him last year, but he was still really good, though. Don't get me wrong.
Like I said, cough, shortstop. I know all these records were put at because was playing second base. As a middle, no matter where you're playing in the middle infield, still very impressive. But yeah, just what you said there. If he's a comp to numbers with Semien, then I'm all in too. Especially batting from both sides of the plate.
98%. He's in the top 98th percentile in expected batting average, so he's going to be a batting average machine. He's in the 97th percentile of max and exit velocity, so he has massive power. So boom, bat to ball skills, massive power, like he total package as a hitter. And 87th percentile in xwOBA, 86% in hard hit percentage. Cattell Marte is a superstar, an absolute superstar, and the Jays can have him at a not superstar price. I'm in. If I could talk to Ross Atkins right now, I'd be like, this is the guy you go get. Anyways, that's my play on Cattell Marte. I will be ecstatic if the Jays do get him, and I'm really hoping for it. Riley, let's get over to your guy. Who's first on your list that you think the Jays should acquire?
First on my list, and this is all, of course, we're talking hypothetical. I compare this kind of to if I'm playing a baseball video game, but I still, because that's what guys like you and I, or maybe the regular baseball fan does, because we don't actually manage real baseball teams. So it's kind of the best we can do. But I'm looking for someone who's young, who's going to fit the play style, who can give you the power to go along with the rest. And I like a plus defender, and I see no better fit to cover third base than California's Matt Chapman.
Okay.
We're going to have to get him from Oakland.
Right.
Right off the bat, I'll say, even as a Jays fan, he is my favorite ball player. He's a Platinum Glove Award winner, which is consecutive Gold Gloves. Another hot take. I think he's the best defender in all of baseball.
He's up there.
He is just amazing to watch in the field. You want to look up cool videos of, as Jays fans, we can look up Kevin Pillar highlights for outfielders. You want to look up some good infielders. Yeah, and Arenado's got some good ones.
Yep.
But Chapman, I think his best days are yet to come, man. I mean, I know he had a rough season last year. I believe too, Matt Chapman has the potential for 38 home runs, maybe 40 if he can get more bat on ball. He's got a lot of power, man.
I mean, he hit 27 last year, and that was a down year for Matt Chapman, like you said. Yeah. So if you're in your down year, you're hitting 27 home runs. It's still pretty good. He hit 36 in 2019, so I don't think that's 40 home runs.
And that was and that was Chapman's best statistical year. I think that was the year he captured his first Gold Glove, perhaps.
It was looking at the stats here. It was definitely his best defensive season.
Yeah, and offensively as well. But I believe that he hasn't had his best offensive season yet. Oakland's selling the farm.
Yeah,
and I think that heifer right there in that pen. I think we take that cow over the border to Canada. Like, we got to take someone with pop. Marte's a guy with pop. Yeah, he might be a switch hitter, but just a total bias thing for me. But you talk about upside, Jesse. I have so much faith in Chapman. in my fantasy, no matter, I'll take him 20, 25 picks ahead of where he's supposed to go this year. I don't care. I love the guy. I have such high hopes for him. I believe that we have not even, for those of you who have watched him and maybe, you know, turn your head away from him because he didn't do so well last year. He's got a lot of potential. He is probably, if he played the best he could be a top 3 third baseman in not just the AL or the NL, but all of baseball.
So a lot of Jays fans are kind of having a retrospect back to the 2014 offseason. They see a kind of older third baseman who plays in Oakland, a guy who had a lot of power, a lot of tools, and they're screaming like, this is Josh Donaldson. This is another guy like that who's already put up high WAR seasons in his tenure in Oakland. And if the Jays can get him, Matt Chapman could be an MVP. Now, I don't think he's going to be an MVP, but I do think he's going to be really good. You want to talk about his down year which was last year. So in 2020, Matt Chapman had a torn labrum in his hip. Okay. And that shut him down for a lot of the COVID shortened season. Now it was a COVID shortened season, so missing those games didn't really matter too much. And I dug into a lot of research about that surgery. And people who recover that usually don't get back to their full strength until another year later. So it usually takes almost another full year of recovery. And if you look through Matt Chapman's splits last year, he struggled a lot early in the season and started to really pick up as the year got on. So maybe that means he's actually finally being able to recover. He can defend better. He can hit better. Because that lip labrum surgery has done damage to Michael Pineda, Tim Lincecum, Alex Rodriguez, and before Tulo had the foot stuff, he had a torn labrum in his hip as well. So it's a really, really hard injury to come back from. But Matt Chapman still, like we said, 28 years old. I'm kind of with you here. I think there's more untapped potential. And if he's the guy who ends up playing third base for this team, I think the upside could be huge.
Oh, huge upside, man. And we talk about the batting order. Like for me, like to slide him in with those power bats already, like he could hit anywhere from 6 to clean up and still put up just gross numbers with Lourdes and Teoscar, man. Like he would be. I know there's a lot of same players. I do like having another lefty bat. But for what I think we could get Chapman at, because Oakland's selling so hard right now, and looking to move some money around. And the fact is we would have to pay him smaller cash for 2 years, Jesse, is what you said.
9.5 million this year, and then he's arbitration eligible next year.
Yeah, which should be a slight raise, maybe 11, somewhere in there. So
Jays can afford that, no problem.
Man, even if it is for 2 years, like that's gonna buy a lot of guys time. Even if Grosjean's, if he's not up this year, that's going to buy a guy like Grosjean's time. That's going to buy a Ralphus Martinez time. If, I'm talking infielders as infielders here. Chapman, obviously, you're not going to move him to short or second.
No, he's playing third base.
He's your third baseman. The other minor leaguers, if you're brought up as a shortstop, drafted as a shortstop, you got to learn how to play other positions. Chapman being there would be great for a lot of reasons, and he would help develop the guys beneath him and give them more time in the minors before you go up and send a guy who's too young and too inexperienced to kind of screw him up.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, dude. I wasn't sold on Matt Chapman when we started, but looking into him more, I think, he might be up there behind Cattell Marte of who I'd really like to see this Blue Jays team acquire.
Well, man, if we were doing this in 2002, I would tell you about we should have gone after Ken Griffey Jr. or someone like that, man. Like my favorite players are my favorite players for a reason. A lot of them are plus defenders, and like I said, Chapman might be the best defender in all of baseball, and
with offensive upside to go with it. So
tons of offensive upside.
Yeah, would love to get it. All right, those are two really good infield options that the Blue Jays could look for. I'm going to move over to starting pitching now with my next player, and this isn't going to be a top-line guy. Like, I'm not saying let's go get Carlos Rodon, who's the top guy on the free agent. I'm thinking more of someone you could put into that fifth starter's role here that could eat up a bunch of innings for you and could be sneakily good this year. And it might surprise a lot of Jays players, but I am interested in getting Yusei Kikuchi, who's a starting pitcher. He's left-handed. We could use another left-hander to go with Ryu. He's 30 years old. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of story here about Yusei Kikuchi. So he obviously started in Japan. He came to the major leagues, and he wasn't good. His first 2 years in Seattle were quite atrocious. But last year, he started to throw a little harder and he started to work his way up, right? So at the start of the year, Yusei Kikuchi actually put some really good stuff together. In the first half, he had a 3.48 ERA, a whip of 1.09, and was actually Seattle's representative at the All-Star game this year. So we're thinking, great, the breakout is coming. Here's Yusei Kikuchi. It can happen. Then the second half happened and he kind of fell apart. And I don't know if it is related to the sticky stuff crackdown that the Major League Baseball tried to put in last year. I don't know if that had something to do with Yusei Kikuchi's detriment or his downfall there, but he was never able to pick it back up. But here's why I think Yusei Kikuchi can turn it around and can still be a very good Major League hitter. Like I said, or pitcher, sorry. Like I said, his velocity has increased in 2021 after he kind of rehauled his mechanics in 2022. And I think he could really benefit from a pitch mix change. If you look, there's something on Pitcher List, I think it's got pitch vowels. And you look, they rank every pitcher's, each individual pitches. And Yusei Kikuchi's fastball, to put it bluntly, is dog shit. It is not good. He puts it in the zone, it gets hit hard. And you think having a guy with a fastball, you kind of need a fastball, right, to be successful? But I think if you could make Yusei Kikuchi scrap that and throw his cutter, as well as his slider to go along with his changeup, because his slider grades really well. It gets a lot of swings and misses, and even his cutter isn't too bad. We saw the guy in Milwaukee, Corbin Burns. He started throwing a cutter as a primary pitch. We've seen it before with, Mariano Rivera and Kenley Jansen throw a cutter as a primary pitch. I think if you can get into Yusei Kikuchi's head and to have him throw that as his pitch mix and kind of just use his fastball a lot less, kind of like Hyun-Jin Ryu does. He doesn't throw his fastball that much. I think there's more upside that you could get that first half, the guy he was in the first half of 2021 on this team into 2022.
Yeah, like I said, I'll just start with what I know about pitchers, and pitchers are weird. They're gonna have are gonna have a lot of up and downs. First half numbers sounded great. The fact that he was an all-star. I don't like to think too much about the sticky stuff, Jesse. I'm a traditionalist of baseball. Guys use things to get a grip on the ball, whatever.
They've been doing it for
now
years.
we're going bare bones, and that's fine. So let's find something that works if he is part of that. You talk about a slider and you talk about a cutter, two very similar pitches, and coming out of a left-hander's hand, the cutter is going to be, have higher velocity and less movement than his slider. Mm-hmm. Slider having more movement, and that's killer against, I'm a lefty batter. I know that down and away movement. You could fall off the plate like that could, just dice up left-handed batters. Just dice them up.
Yes, I know as a left-handed batter, the pitches tailing far and away are so hard to hit. Based on CSW, do you want to know what Yusei Kikuchi's sliders mimicked? Like what other pitchers had similar sliders to Yusei Kikuchi last year?
Yeah, if you say I hope you give me an elite name here.
Okay, Joe Musgrove, Jacob deGrom, and Garrett Cole. Yusei Kikuchi's slider was on par with those guys.
So you just gave me 2.5 elite names. Musgrove threw a no-hitter, a perfect game, I believe. I
think it was just a no-hitter.
Just a no-hitter? Well, fair enough. He threw a no-hitter.
Well, maybe it was a perfect game. I don't remember.
I'll have to check, man. That shows you how much I know about the Padres. I even had him in fantasy last year too. I had him in for that, but whatever it was, the fact that he can mimic those pitches, if he gets something else working, tertiary and a secondary, possible pitches, maybe even scrap the fastball entirely, or try to work a 2C movement that kind of contradicts the cutter, right? The cutter moving one way and the 2-seam almost acts in the other direction, right? When you look at the strike zone and how the ball actually moves towards home plate. I don't know. Like I said, man, I'm not a pitcher. I know pitchers because of how successful or poorly I hit against them. So him being a lefty, I think there's a lot of potential to throw some more crafty pitches in there. And, if we potentially get him, that could be a real weapon.
I say get him in here, get him under camp, get Pete Walker to work his magic on him, and you have a lot of upside in your fifth starter. And he just turned down a 1-year, $13 million player option, so he could be had dirt cheap. Get this guy on this team. Riley, who's your next guy?
Yes. Well, I'm going back to the position of third base.
Yep.
I feel like he could possibly be, favorited over Chapman, we'll say. And that's Jose Ramirez. Maybe, I'll slow my roll for a second. Maybe, we'll be a little more realistic when we talk ball. Still, the price is really high when you're talking about Jose Ramirez. He's a switch hitter.
Yep, sure is.
Which is we need a lefty bat in that lineup. We really do. He's still an above average defender. Mm-hmm. He's not an exceptional base runner by any means, but he, from what I know, is an extra base hit machine.
Yeah, Jose Ramirez, I think if you were to rank all the third basemen in baseball, I think Jose Ramirez might be the best one. And there is an obvious connection there with Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins because they came from Cleveland. They saw Jose Ramirez develop in their system. So a lot of Blue Jays fans are knocking down the door, but like, Jose Ramirez is the guy. We need this guy to play third base on our team. Now, don't get me wrong. He is very good. Like we said, he might be the best third baseman in all of baseball. I'm just worried that he's going to cost a lot. Now, some people will say, if he's elite, he's the best third baseman in baseball. I don't care who you send out, get him on this team. And there's good merit to that. I love my prospects. I really, really do. And I don't know about Jose Ramirez. I'm still kind of undecided.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. If we crank that budget, we got to put the money into this team to be successful. And I know that doesn't come down to you and I, Jesse. But just to dream of having a top 3 third baseman in all of baseball, man, that's going to be geez, man, where would he even hit in that lineup? I think you move Bo down in the lineup just a little bit. He's a two hitter, man. And for teams that don't include Vlad Jr., he's a 3 hitter. You're right. He probably is the best third baseman in all of baseball. Mm-hmm. And he has so much to offer. If he stays with the Guardians, if he decides that he, is going elsewhere, we would take him with open arms, but our front office has gotta dole out some dough for that to happen. It's a big dream for sure, but
he is still 28 years old. He's still young. He's got 2 more years under his contract, so we'd get him for at least 2 more seasons. So even if we don't give him a contract extension, he's still got the 2 years with this team. The Blue Jays are in win now mode, and Jose Ramirez would absolutely help that. It's, it's huge upside with Jose Ramirez. And if it does happen, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to love this. I'm going to go. Cause like we said, he is one of the best players in baseball. I don't want to mortgage too much of the future to get him in here. That's my only knock on him.
It would be my only knock too, but, I'll say it right now, Chapman, he'll have a good career. He's probably not going to win an MVP. Jose Ramirez is the type of player that is an MVP. He's an MVP type player. Guys are game breakers. Guys like that are game breakers.
He's already finished top 3 in MVP voting 3 times already in his career. So there's red all over the StatCast page. Don't get me wrong. Jose Ramirez is amazing. He's a great player. Let's just wait and see.
Yeah.
My last guy on the list, we can kind of run through this guy really quick. I just think the Blue Jays, as good as we've talked about in our pitching episode, how their bullpen could be, I've just got one little sneaky bullpen guy I think the Jays could add, and that's David Bednar, who's 27. He's a right-handed pitcher from the Pittsburgh Pirates, under team control till 2027. He's just your typical bullpen guy. Good stuff. 2.33 ERA last year, over a strikeout an inning. In fact, 77 strikeouts in 60 innings. He's in the top 7% in expected batting average against, expected slugging against, strikeout percentage. He's got a good 3 pitches. He can throw up to 97 with his fastball. The Jays and Pittsburgh kind of match up well because the Jays assistant general manager is over in Pittsburgh now. So he knows the Jays farm system really good. Pittsburgh's rebuild is going to take a long time. So the prospect we give up is probably someone who's very young. I think nothing sexy about it, but I think if we can get David Bednar, he will help this bullpen. Good piece for years to come.
All trades don't have to be sexy, right? Especially when it comes down to the bullpen, because I don't think any of those guys are really, unless you're, a a closer who's been in the league for, half a decade, because you're probably putting up some crooked numbers. A lot of those guys are rental players, Jesse, but you're right. Would be nice to add another arm to that pad.
Yeah, bullpen performance tends to be the one thing that kind of fluctuates from year to year to year, no matter how good your guys are. We've seen great relievers just have one bad year, and that can affect your whole bullpen. So just getting more guys in there, especially guys who have the ability to strike out batters, because a lot of the time they're coming in with runners on base. So you really need that one quick out. I think David Bednar is just another guy. He can be had for really cheap. I'm in. Riley, who's the last guy you want to talk about here that you think the Jays should acquire?
Well, again, I'm sticking with the position of third base because I think that is something that if we got a third baseman without getting any other position, like acquiring anyone else, it's going to make the greatest impact. And I went over, I would say, the top two guys. But here's one, former World Series winner, Kris Bryant. Now, I do realize that he played a lot of left field in the National League for the Giants. But if you remember, iconically laughing, throwing that ball to Rizzo, if you have a throw out in the bottom of the ninth to your first baseman, you're win a World Series, you're a third baseman. He's been in the league a long time. He's in his downside years. Not by a lot, but I don't think you see 36, 37, even 34 home runs out of him. I still think 30 is a possibility. 25 would be still great to have. Batting averages you could probably expect this year, I don't know, 250s, 260s. He's not an MVP anymore. He's not at that level, but he's still well above replacement level for, a lot of the third basemen in this league. And he's a great ball player. I would say probably around 2013, 14, 15, around that as a young guy. I love to watch Kris Bryant. He low-key would be one of my more favorite guys. And he came up with that Cubs team that ended up, breaking the curse. Just great to watch guys like that for the sentimentalness of baseball, getting a guy who was on that Chicago Cubs curse-breaking team, I think speaks volumes. And again, just a fun guy on the diamond.
Yeah, so Kris Bryant was like you said, a huge prospect with the Cubs. He went into spring training one year, just tore the cover off the ball. And then the Cubs did the same thing the Jays did with Vladdy. Well, they sent him down. He's got to work on defense, yada, yada. Then they brought him up, and he went on a tear. He was MVP of the 2016 season. He's a 4-time All-Star. And like you said, he was great. In those prime years with the Cubs, Kris Bryant, absolute superstar. But you did say that he had kind of gone down a little bit, and it's weird with Kris Bryant. He got traded to San Francisco at the trade deadline last year, and he did play better in San Francisco than he did with the Cubs, but his skills just seem to have declined. Like, his average exit velocity was in the bottom 29% of the league, and he's also not like that great of a defender anymore. So you really want to see a guy who is known for having all this power he doesn't hit the ball as hard as you'd like. And I'm very curious on what a contract would look like for Kris Bryant on the free agent right now, knowing that his best years are probably behind him.
Well, certainly we could get him less than, I would say, 10 million at this point. Or around, I should say around, because he does have the MLB service time, and you know how players like to dole that out when talking about making the money and things like that. But still, yes, he's not going to give you MVP numbers, but he's still going to give you a plus WAR, like when all said and done in 150 games. And he's less of a price than the first two guys I said.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be a team out there that's willing to look at Kris Bryant and they see, oh, this guy's a 4-time All-Star. This guy was MVP in 2016. Like, maybe that guy is still in there, and there might be a team out there who's willing to bet on that. I don't necessarily see it coming. We'll see. The people in the Blue Jays front office, they know more than I do. So maybe they have some metric or something that says, yes, Kris Bryant isn't there, or like he's going to get there. He's going to bounce back. I don't think so, but it would be very interesting to see what happens next in Kris Bryant's career.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's not like he totally needs to, revive himself. He's not dead at the plate. He's not dead in the water. He's still gonna play in the MLB. He's definitely not on his way out. He just hasn't put up the numbers that I would say most people remember him as, because he kind of really, really went quiet from from the MLB page. If you were to look up National League stats, he really went away from that.
Yeah, he dropped down, and he dropped down hard. Hence why the Cubs have slowly shifted into their rebuild that they're doing now. So those are the three guys, I think, that or three each, so I guess 6 guys total, that you and I are both kind of excited that we really think could impact this team that we really want to go after. I do want to touch on some other guys who are notable free agents that, tell me what your thoughts are if the Jays signed this guy. I'm going to go first with Freddie Freeman. What are your thoughts on Freddie Freeman?
Holy cow. First of all, we'd have the best first baseman in the American League and the National League, formerly from the Braves, an honorary Canadian and Freddie Freeman. Yeah, you gotta love that. And you talk about fun guys on the field. Bryant is up there, but Freddie Freeman might be the most liked MLB player right now.
It's very amazing to me that he even got this far in free agency, because he's always said this whole time, I want to stay in Atlanta. Atlanta's always said, we want to have you back in Atlanta. He just won a World Series with Atlanta. It's kind of crazy he doesn't have a contract yet. And the more he remains unsigned, the more the teams like the Blue Jays and the Yankees and other teams are looking at Freddie Freeman as a possible fit.
Oh, teams would be salivating over this guy. Like, his best years are not behind him. And yes, he has got a little more age than some guys, but 32. He is, drum roll, please, a very potential Hall of Famer.
I think so. I think he's well on his way. He's
between the Hall of Very Good or Hall of Fame, but there's a real good chance that if he keeps putting up these numbers, he'll get there.
Mm-hmm. There was buzz around in the offseason when Carlos Bergera, a guy, he's Spanish. He has predicted a lot of these Spanish player signings before. He made some Instagram posts about Freddie Freeman in a Blue Jays jersey, citing that his mom was Canadian. He's played for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic before. And it just got everyone buzzing that, oh my God, we could get Freddie Freeman. I don't think it's going to happen. Freddie Freeman is going to cost a lot of money. Now, he's really good. Don't get me wrong. He might even be better than Jose Ramirez, say. But I think he's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to be probably a 6 or 7 year deal. And we already have a very good first baseman. If you haven't heard, this Guerrero kid might be pretty good. So, it's not really a team need, but you'd be adding another high impact bat if Freddie Freeman were to come to Toronto.
You would be adding, a top 5 position player hitter in all of baseball. That's just Freddie Freeman, though.
And plus, we'd probably have to move Vladdy to third base if we did sign Freddie Freeman. And Vladdy was awful at third base in his year he played there. So Vladdy is an MVP candidate at first base. Let's just leave him there. Let's move on. I'm going to try to run through these other guys pretty quickly that I think could be interesting. I've mentioned Luke Voight, who, if the Yankees do say sign Freddie Freeman or they signed another first baseman, Luke Voigt's probably extendable, and he just led the majors in the he led the major leagues in home runs in the 2020 COVID shortened season. Left-handed hitter. Luke Voigt could be a really I think he's a right-handed hitter actually. But Luke Voigt could be a good piece on this team.
Luke Voigt's a righty bat.
Yeah, he is a righty. Yeah. But anyways, he's a masher. He could still be really good. I think if the Yankees decide to get rid of him, he's going to be a good player no matter where he goes. We talked about Oakland doing the rebuild. Chris Bassett and Sean Manaya could be arms that could probably fit into the Jays' 5th rotation spot right now. I just have little notes on here. Sean Manaya, he's a good durable starter, but I don't think the upside is there for what he once showed as a prospect. The StatCast numbers aren't that great, but he should be fine. He'll probably be league average, and he's probably better than a lot of the free agent starting pitchers who are currently on the market. So he could probably be had pretty cheap. Chris Bassett too. He's a 1-year rental. He's an innings eaters guy. Like, he's a guy who might give up 2 or 3 runs to start, but he'll pitch into the 6th or 7th. He actually is pretty good at inducing hard contact. So maybe there's something here with Chris Bassett, but nothing super sexy with that name. Any thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, both Oakland guys. I do spend a lot of time watching A's baseball. You're right. At first I felt hurt that you said that about Manaya, and then I kind of came down to earth and I thought, yeah, you're not wrong. Great southpaw, really. He was considered their ace, I would say, but he really hasn't shown, his greatest year. but I think he's had a lot of kind of stutters in what's going on. I don't know if that's injury or what. Oakland just has had a rough, last 3 or 4 years really. And, if Manaya gets moved, he will go. And, next 2-3 years, I bet you is probably his best years. If we can get him for a smaller price, yeah, that's great. Bassett is an innings eater too. He's got the stamina. He's, a long-winded guy, got longevity, can give you the innings. But he's one of those guys that could be flaky at the end of the day, could have a 5.71 or could have a 3.71 ERA.
Exactly,
Could. The upside's great. The downside, not so much.
He'd be our 5th starter. I'd be fine with it. It probably wouldn't cost us much. If we're going to get an Oakland starter, Frankie Montos is the guy, because I'd love to see that splitter with Kevin Gosman teaching him how to use that. I think that would be amazing.
Straight fireballer, man. Freddie Montes. Again, another guy I'm going to pick this year in fantasy, 15, 20 spots above. That if they ended up going after and getting Montes and Chapman, whoo, Nelly, watch out, man.
So we did say the Blue Jays could use another bench bat, particularly a left-handed one. I really think the Blue Jays are going to give Corey Dickerson another shot. He's a free agent right now. I really think there's some interest there that the Blue Jays bring him back. He said he kind of got revitalized playing with his Blue Jays team last year, and we saw Dickerson getting more playing time over Randall Grichuk late in the year. So especially if we can move Grichuk's contract, which we saw the Jays were trying to do. There were rumors that we were going to send him to Milwaukee in the offseason, but they went with Hunter Renfroe instead. So there's very real chance if we do move Grichuk that Corey Dickerson could come right here and fit in. And other guys like Ben Gamble, Colin Moran, Brett Gardner, Pavin Smith, all bench guys for this team, left-handed guys who provide you a little bit of something. I think one of those guys would be a good fit for this team as well.
Yeah, and just Gardner would be an ironic one because he spent so much time with the Yankees. We've seen him so much. And you know what? I like Brett Gardner. I always have, as a non-Yankees guy. I would say one of my player comps growing up would have been Brett Gardner as an outfielder. Just a funny guy, real short-tempered, which I don't hate. I don't hate as long as it's not costing us games.
Yeah.
He'd be fun. He'd be fun. He'd be fine as a 4th outfielder for sure.
I mean, he just hit so well against the Blue Jays in his career. It'd be nice just to have him not facing us every time. It'd be good to have him on our side.
Yeah, and you know what? It helps when they build Yankee Stadium like that Warkworth ball diamond. Like, holy cow! Any lefty could hit it out of there. But if we get him, man, I'm not expecting power numbers, but definitely above average replacement outfielder for the guys we have.
So I do have
as a 4th outfielder.
Yes, and that's what he'd be on this team.
Yeah.
I do have one more guy I want to mention. He didn't make my top 3 go get him guys, but I did some research on this guy and I really think I like him. And that would be JD Davis of the Mets. He's 28 years old. Like Chris Bryant, he's played some left field. He's played some third base. Now he's not a great defender at either position, so I know for you that might take him down a little bit, but he's kind of fallen out of favor with the Mets. They seem to want to move on with him. Maybe the universal DH changes that, and a guy like JD Davis can kind of stick around and get some at-bats. But all this guy has done in his career is hit. He's just hit and hit and hit. Since 2019, JD Davis WRC Plus ranks 5th in baseball among third basemen and is only a hair behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Jose Ramirez. So this guy's hit. He's very undervalued right now because he's not that great a defender. But if he's hitting like those guys, getting him in your lineup, maybe a guy you can run in the DA spot for a while, could still be really good.
Yeah. Now, mind you, when I favor defense first, if a guy can give you a certain statistic at the plate, then defense kind of goes out the window, right?
Sure.
But if you're hitting 15 to 20 home runs and about 70 RBIs, hitting around 250, 260, I would still love to see some defense. But if you're putting up, astronomical numbers, then, maybe I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide a bit more for sure to get an extra bat in that lineup.
Yeah, I also wouldn't mind Kyle Schwarber either. This guy who started in Washington, went to the Red Sox, a shit ton of power. He had a great year last year. There's a lot of swing and miss in that game, so he could have a lot of high variance. But when he hit the ball, it was elite. He's either going back to Boston or I think he's going to sign with the National League team somewhere to now that they've got the universal DH. But I wouldn't be against Kyle Schwarber being on this team either. But I do think that the Jays want to avoid having a primary DH because of the Kendrys Morales situation they had here for years. Yeah. The Jays really value putting people, like giving people a partial day off. Like they could put Bo Bichette in the DH hole one day, or they could put Teoscar Hernandez in the DH hole one day. And I think the Jays really value that. So I don't see Kyle Schwarber as a guy who's going to end up here, but I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again.
Yeah. And with having a full-time DH, if that's Schwarber, great, but there goes your days off, because I would hate to see Schwarber might be one of the worst defenders in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Just, respectfully, because he has the potential to hit 40 home runs. I don't know if he's done it before.
I can find out.
He's definitely had some crooked numbers at the plate, man. But his thing is hitting. He is he's a masher, and he's not hitting for average. He's not looking to make pretty plays in the field. He's just out there to hit the ball 435 feet over the fence.
He's good at it. He hit a 38 in 2019. So close.
Okay. But that's his career high. So yeah.
Yeah.
So he has, like, if you hit 38 home runs, Jesse, you have the potential to hit 40.
Yeah.
That's two at bats that didn't go his way. That could have been 2 long flyouts to the warning track.
And if we're looking for a guy whose career high is 38 home runs, why don't we just get Matt Chapman?
Case in point, Jesse, bro. Case in point.
All right, that's all I've got for these free agents and trade targets that the Jays could acquire. There's obviously, we're not going to sign all of them, but I think if we can get our hands on a few of these guys, especially Cattell Marte, give me this guy, put him on our team. I think it would be great. And I feel like once a lockout agreement is made, these guys are going to go flying off the list. If you guys watching have any thoughts of anyone who could do, leave a comment down below. We'll engage with you on Twitter. We'll tell you the pros and cons of what we think about these guys. But I don't have anyone else to add, Riley. Do you have anyone else you're thinking of?
One of our viewers on Twitter actually mentioned Trevor Story would be an interesting one. Mm-hmm. And I read that and I kind of smirked, and I thought, yeah, that would be great. But what the hell are we going to do with Bo, or where are we going to move Story? Because he's one of the best hitting shortstop, or he might be the best hitting shortstop in all of baseball for power.
Right. Now, some people are worried about, like, he played his years in Colorado, and he actually wasn't that great last year, and he couldn't do that in Colorado. What could happen? But I don't think Trevor Story's moving off shortstop. And Bo Bichette was on record saying, I think if the Jays were to sign Francisco Lindor last year, that Bo Bichette would have moved to second base, but they didn't move him for Marcus Semien. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a fit, but
yeah, if it comes down to who's your primary shortstop, and I had to choose between acquiring Story and trying to find another fit for Bo, or just kind of leaving it the same. If Trevor Story was to get some sort of miraculous arm surgery where he was a third baseman and could throw with greater throwing power and be a natural at the position, then I'd take that all day. However, he seems more suited for shortstop. He's kind of that type of player. Wherever he goes, he will be the starting shortstop.
Right. And Trevor Story is on record saying exactly that. He's like, I'm a shortstop. I'm playing shortstop. And
yeah.
So it's not too bad. But I like it. There's upside there. Trevor Story can hit. Plays good defense. There's a chance.
Hit for power, Ben.
Yeah, I think the price is just going to be too high. It's kind of like Freddie Freeman, right? Great player, great stuff. I don't see it happening in Toronto.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have to get to a little bit of somber news around the MLB, as if you were checking through the Twitter last night, we did see that longtime Oakland A and Philadelphia Phillies Jeremy Giambi passed away. Tough guy. I know, as a baseball fan growing up through our younger years, we like Jeremy Giambi. I know like you've mentioned, you're a big Moneyball guy. Jeremy Giambi was a star in that. Do you have anything you want to say about him?
Yeah, the Giambi family, a lot of people remember. Jason, obviously, longtime DH of the Yankees. Mm-hmm. So Jason's brother obviously passed away. Hasn't been disclosed. It's not our job to talk about what happened. Just me being a fan of the Oakland A's and the organization, kind of, our condolences to the family, the teams,
Absolutely.
Friends, family, things like that. Again, respectfully, just love the movie. Love players like that, not a high level guy, but the fact that they brought in so many replacement level guys And when they started talking about guys with high on base percentages, and Jeremy Giambi was that guy at the time, that they went after and picked up, and they went on their record setting at the time. It was broken, I believe, by the Cleveland Guardians. Yeah. 20 game win streak, and just it's crazy, man. Things happen in life, and our condolences to the Giambis and the family and extended family of the Oakland A's.
Yeah, 47 years old, still quite young. He his season in 2002 with the Phillies, he had a 971 OPS that year. Like, he absolutely mashed, but he only had I think it was 70 RBIs. Like, his counting stats were just so low because he was hitting leadoff most of the time. But that 2002 season he had with the Phillies was special. I do have some quotes here that his former teammate said. Barry Zito via text finding out about his death. He just says, "I'm completely shocked at the news about Jeremy. He was an incredibly loving human with a very soft heart, and it was evident to us and his teammates at the time that he had some battles going on." So it seemed like he was well regarded with his teammates there. I have another quote here from Art Howe, who was also featured in Moneyball quite well. It's like, "I know how hard Jeremy played every single day. I know our fans remember him. But I think it's a shame that anyone even thinks about his misdoings on the field and whatnot. He was a good kid. He was well liked. He gave me everything he had, and that was the type of person Jeremy Giambi was." So,
and I think that speaks. It's one thing to hear from players, but when you get that kind of review from a manager, that speaks volumes. The caretaker of the team and everything like that. It's it's tough to lose someone. Like I said, condolences to the Giambis and the Oakland A's organization. Tough loss.
Absolutely. Let's move on now. Let's go to something a little somber, Riley. Let's pick ourselves back up with a little bit of trivia.
Yeah.
Riley, last week I asked
trivia.
You, yeah, who doesn't, right? Last week I asked you if you could name all the MLB The Show cover artists since 2006. You listed off a few for me. Do you have any more guesses?
So yeah, okay. So I gave you Mao, right? Was it 10 and 11 or 9 and 10?
10 and 11.
10 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pedroia was on 08 or 09.
09, you nailed it.
Okay. Then tracking back, we go Tatis, Baez.
Yep.
Tatis, Baez. Jesus, I own the damn game. What the? Oh, Harper.
Bryce Harper
Judge.
in 19. Yep. Aaron Judge in 18.
And then Judge. So then I said McCutchen, and I don't want you to give me the year because I just know he was on a game. And I feel like I'm just, for my last guess, because I don't know. Miggy had a triple crown. Was Miggy on one of those games?
You nailed it, 2014.
Okay. 2014. Okay. I'm done guessing, man, because before Petey and around, there's I might be missing 1 and 2 years in the 2010s, but give it to me, man. I want to hear this. It took me everything not to look this up, by the way.
So there's 7 more, and as soon as I say these names, you're gonna be like, of course they were.
Oh
right?
Man, don't do this to me, dude. All right.
We'll start, I guess, way in the beginning. 2006, when MLB The Show first came out, David Ortiz was on the cover. Makes sense.
Fair enough.
I'm sure you
Fair
knew
enough,
that.
man.
The next year, we went Mets legend David Wright was on the cover.
Oh, I should have got that one.
Should have got that one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I should have got that one.
In 2008, we had a guy you mentioned probably a few episodes ago as one of the best individual seasons a player's ever had, and that was Ryan Howard, big mashing left-handed first baseman.
Man, yeah.
It was one.
Of course.
Now, I'm surprised you didn't get this one. In 2016, Josh Donaldson was on the cover, Blue Jays MVP.
Oh, that's not fair because I was doing the Canadian edition and everything like that. I mean, if I was, yeah.
He was on the American one as well, yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad that the Americans got to see the MVP.
Now, you're going to kick yourself at this one. In 2017, they decided not to do a current player on the MLB The Show cover. They went with.
This is Bryce Harper.
No, Bryce Harper was 18. In 2017, they put Ken Griffey Jr. on the cover of MLB The Show.
Well, I said Judge. Did I say Judge for 2017?
Oh, I think I had. No, Judge was 18. Harper was 19.
Oh, Ken Griffey Jr.
It was on 17.
What are you? Oh, you're kidding me, man. That's embarrassing. I don't even know if we air this episode. Jeez, man.
And then just 2 more to get. These ones are tough ones. In 2012, it was Adrian Gonzalez, who might have been a tough one.
Adrian Gonzalez, man, that's like kind of like Patrice Bergeron being on the cover of NHL 15.
Right. And the last one, which I think
Adrian
is the toughest one
Gonzalez.
to get, was in 2015. I'm going to give you some clues for this one. This person played for the LA Dodgers. He right-handed hitter. He was from Cuba.
It's Puig.
It's Yasiel Puig was on the cover in 2015. So good stuff there. As we talked a lot about MLB The Show in the last episode, I know I'm excited for the game. I'm pretty sure you are too. It should be a lot of fun. I got one more trivia question for today. Are you ready?
I'm looking to bounce back in a big way, buddy. So let me hear it.
Well, I tried to find something that was related to free agents and stuff, and all the stuff I could find, it was too mathy. It was too complicated. So I scrapped it. I just pulled a random Blue Jays trivia question. I want to see if you can get it. Ready?
Shoot.
All right. It's multiple choice too.
Oh, great. Thank you.
No problem. Which one of these Toronto Blue Jays once struck out 6 times in a game? Now, do you know it right now?
Okay.
Before I give the answer?
Can I? Alex Rios.
No, he's not on the list there. I think he's had 4 strikeout games though, but
yeah, I was at a game where he did not do well in.
Sounds like him. Here are your 4 options. Your options are Teoscar Hernandez, Colby Rasmus, Alex Gonzalez, or Randall Grichuk.
Oh man, I hope it's not my boy Colby. So let me just do some thinking on this before I answer. So 6 strikeouts. So you're going to have an at-bat at least 6 times in the game. That's over 6 with 6 Ks, which is the double hat trick, which is a golden sombrero plus 2. That's 2.5, or that's 1.5 sombreros right there. So you're playing extra innings, unless your team's winning 17-0, but you just didn't contribute at all.
Riley, you and I could go up to the plate, and we could go over 6 with 6 strikeouts.
I know over 2 games though, because we're hitting 9 spot. So we got Grichuk as 1, Teoscar as 1, Colby Rasmus as 1, and who was my 4th option?
Alex Gonzalez, who was a shortstop in the mid 2000s.
So
late 90s, early 2000s.
I think I'll pick the wild card guess. Yeah, I know the shortstop well, because he kind of moved around after. I think he was with the Cubs after the Jays, but I think I'll go Alex Gonzalez, because I'm not really sure. And I know Teoscar and Colby struck out a lot, but 6 in a game is a lot, man.
All right,
that's a lot of strikeouts.
If you guys are watching, leave your answer in the YouTube comments below. We will give you the answer next week. Riley, that's all we got for the show today. Anything else you want to add?
No. We'll be busy here soon, though, talking about hopefully Manfred can get all this crap sorted out. And, I like talking hypothetics, but it'll be nice to talk, some straight paper stuff here and talk about games. I'm looking forward to this podcast, mostly to talk about the games that have been going on and to, interact with our followers and, compare and contrast and see what, and break down kind of what's going on with this Jays team. We're going to win 90 games this year, I think, no matter how way you slice it. It's going to be a good season. I'm really looking forward to talking about actual baseball games. So the sooner rather than later, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, we'll get into some season preview stuff once we have a start date, once we know when things are going on. And I've got a lot of fun ideas to go into that. So we'll get there. But yeah, that'll do it for episode today. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. I feel like we're really starting to hit our stride here, Riley. There's a lot of fun Blue Jays content to discuss, and we keep putting it forward. I think we're onto something here.
Well, for those of you who know me, I can talk, forever. It's good to talk about something constructive. It's good to kind of rekindle things with Jesse. Not that we ever had a falling out. Longtime teammate. It's good to meet up. We talk a lot more than just go on the air and talk to you guys. We talk a lot of ball outside of this. I almost wish we had a behind the scenes show.
Maybe one day.
We're not gonna. It's just fun to kind of hypothesize, talk baseball, and sleep on the content. Last night I kind of was thinking, about my third base dilemma and everything like that. So it's fun. Mm-hmm. And like always, if you guys have anything else to contribute, ideas, down in the comments, leave what you have to say.
Yeah, I think we're getting close to the point too where we could probably have some guests on the show and whatnot. So if you are interested, tweet at us at BudJays or send us an email at budsandbluejays@hotmail.com. We're going to be here for all breaking news, all the stuff that happens. I can't wait. Make sure you guys check out the Leafs and Lads podcast. The Leafs are on their way to an historic season. So Mark, Isaac, and Din have you covered every step of the way over there. And until next time, see you around.